All right, let's jump right in. Look, we've all gotten pretty good at spotting those classic scam emails, right? The ones from a foreign prince with all the typos asking for your bank details. But what happens when those scams become perfect? When they're completely indistinguishable from the real thing? That's what we're talking about today. How AI is unleashing this new, incredibly sophisticated age of fraud that's bigger, smarter, and way more dangerous than anything we've ever seen before. So, imagine this. You've been job hunting for weeks, maybe months, and then, bam, the perfect opportunity. It's from a top company, a name you trust. The interview process is smooth, you nail it, and they send you an offer. It feels real. But is it? This isn't just a hypothetical. It's the tightrope that millions of people are walking right now. To really get a handle on just how convincing these scams have become, we're going to zoom in on one person's story. Because this isn't some abstract threat. This is what happened to a real person. And honestly, it could happen to any of us. So meet Brian. He spots a remote job posting for Apple. I mean, who wouldn't want that, right? The whole process felt totally legit. He has a great interview over Zoom with a recruiter. A few days later, he gets a formal offer letter, and it looks perfect, complete with the official Apple logo and everything. Then came the final step. He was told to send a few $1,000s to a preferred vendor to pay for his new work computer and equipment. Don't worry, they said, you'll be fully reimbursed in your very first paycheck. He sent the $3,000, and then crickets. The recruiter's email went dead, the phone number was disconnected. The job, the offer, the money, it all just vanished. Brian wasn't just out $3,000, he was the victim of a perfectly executed employment scam, which is one of the fastest growing and most heartbreaking types of fraud out there today. Now, Brian's story is awful, but it's not a one-off. This wasn't some random, isolated incident. No, he was a target of something way bigger, a global fraud factory. We're talking about industrialized, assembly line deception operating on a massive scale. And the speed at which this whole problem is growing, it's just staggering. Look at this number, 456.7%. That is the insane increase in reported financial losses just from employment scams in the US in only 4 years. It's not just growth, it's an explosion. And to put that percentage into real dollars and cents, just look at this. Employment fraud losses skyrocketed from 90 million to over $500 million. And that's just one slice of the pie. Total consumer fraud losses in the US ballooned to $12.5 billion. These are not small-time crooks in their basements. These are organized, efficient, and scarily profitable operations. But here's where the story takes a really alarming turn. We're not just talking about criminal organizations anymore. Some of the most sophisticated fraud factories are actually backed by national governments. They're turning deception into a tool for funding their state activities. Just take a look at the case of North Korea. Investigations uncovered that hundreds of companies, both in the US and Europe, had unknowingly hired IT workers who were actually North Korean state operatives. And these weren't fakers who couldn't do the job. No, they were often highly skilled engineers. They used deepfakes and forged IDs to get through the hiring process, and then they did good work, all while secretly funneling over $100 million a year back home to help fund the nation's weapons programs. Wild, right? So, what's powering this whole fraud factory? What's the engine behind this massive leap in deception? Well, it all comes down to one thing: technology, specifically artificial intelligence. And probably the most powerful and, frankly, terrifying tool in their new toolkit is something called a live deepfake. Now, this isn't just some funny face swap app on your phone. This is real-time video and audio manipulation. It allows a scammer to literally wear someone else's face and speak with their voice during a live video call, like on Zoom or Teams. And if you think that sounds like science fiction, it's not. It's already happening with huge consequences. In one now famous case, a finance employee in Hong Kong hopped on a video call with who he thought were his senior colleagues, including the company's CFO. The thing is, none of them were real. It was all a deep fake. He followed the fake CFO's instructions and transferred over $25 million to the scammers. And this isn't just one piece of tech. The whole scammer toolkit is getting supercharged. Deepfake incidents are up tenfold. Credential phishing, stealing your login info, is up over 700%. And the number of fake but convincing company websites generated by AI has more than tripled. It's explosive growth across the board. And the real powerhouse behind a lot of this? It's the large language model, or LMM.
You know, the same kind of tech that powers tools like ChatGPT. For scammers, this is an absolute game changer. Remember those phishing emails with terrible grammar and spelling? Yeah, those are a thing of the past. Now they can generate thousands of perfectly fluent, personalized emails. They can create entire fake companies, complete with believable websites and employee profiles in just minutes.
So the tech is scary good, no doubt about it. But that's only one side of the coin. The other side is us. Why are we, the humans on the other end, so susceptible to these scams? Well, the answer isn't about intelligence. It's about psychology. We all like to think, oh, I'd never fall for that, right? But often, even when our gut is screaming that something feels off, there's this powerful, invisible force that just keeps pulling us forward. So what is that force? Well, it has a name. It's a cognitive bias called the sunk cost fallacy. And it's super simple. The more we invest in something, whether that's our time filling out applications, our emotional energy prepping for interviews, or just our hopes and dreams for a new job, the harder it becomes for our brains to just walk away, even when we see bright red warning signs. Psychologist Dr. Veronica Tate puts it perfectly here. She says, changing course feels like we have to admit we've made a mistake. And nobody likes admitting they were wrong. So instead of cutting our losses, our brain's weird wiring makes us want to double down, to keep going, just to justify the effort we've already put in. And you better believe scammers are absolute masters at exploiting this. Okay, so we've seen the threat, we've seen the tech, and we've kind of looked in the mirror at our own psychology. It's a lot, I know, but it's not hopeless. The question is, what can we actually do about it? How do we fight back? Let's talk defense. First things first, let's lay down some really clear rules of the road. A real company will always email you from their official company domain, not a generic Gmail or Yahoo address. Their hiring process will be professional and clear, but here is the absolute #1 golden rule. A legitimate company will never, and I mean never, ask you to pay for your own equipment or training up front. That is the biggest red flag in the universe. When it comes to emails, you gotta put on your detective hat. Don't just glance at the sender's name, actually inspect the full email address. Check that reply to field. Scammers often make it different from the from address. And you see those little virus scan clean messages at the bottom? Ignore them. They can be totally faked. And always, hover your mouse over a link to see where it's really going before you even think about clicking. And it's not just on us. Companies are in this fight too. They're actively scanning job sites for fake ads using their name. They're trying to funnel everyone through one official careers page. And on the technical side, they're using all sorts of email security tools to make it harder for scammers to impersonate them. It's a constant, ongoing battle. And hey, even the platforms we use every day are starting to step up. LinkedIn, for instance, is rolling out things like verification badges. These can show that a person has actually confirmed who they are with a government ID or verified where they work with a company email. It's a small thing for sure, but it's a step toward rebuilding that trust online. Which really leaves us with one final huge question. As this AI technology gets better and better, as the fakes become truly flawless, the fundamental challenge of our time is going to be this. How do we prove what and who is real? The answer to that is going to define our entire digital future.